Greg Kelly. The latest breaking news and opinions. Entertaining and informative.
Hey, Memorial Day weekend. Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, start of summer. It feels, I don't know. It feels like any other Friday, quite frankly. I'm just, look, we got that bad news out of Texas, and it's getting worse. You see the pictures of the kids, by the way, on the front of the papers, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, every single picture of these kids, beautiful kids, and the two teachers just, and now really it looks like there was a colossal screw up. So many people making horrible decisions, just standing around when they should have been doing what they were sworn and trained to do. Bust in there and start shooting the bad guy. I'm sorry, but it's just comes down to it like that. Now, we just had a public official. Looks like, I'm not sure who he is. Is he a sheriff? Is he whatever? I don't know. He's wearing a law enforcement getup in Texas. He was not the guy who was on yesterday, and he's saying it was a mistake to wait to breach the door. Okay, yeah, well, let me read here from the Associated Press. Nearly 20 officers stood in a hallway outside of the classrooms during this week's attack on a Texas elementary school for more than 45 minutes before agents used a master key to open a door and confront the gunman, authorities said. 45 minutes. The on-site commander believed the gunman, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, was barricaded in a classroom at Robb Elementary in Uvalde during Tuesday's attack and that the children were not at risk. How the hell could he have made that assessment? Texas Department of Public Safety Director Stephen McGraw said at the news conference, he was convinced at the time there was no more threat to the children and that the subject was barricaded and that they had time to organize to get into the classroom, McGraw said. Of course, it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision. Yeah, the guy was in there with 19 kids, dead. And by the way, maybe some of them weren't dead. Were they bleeding out? How about getting in there? Gosh, the delay in taking this guy out. All those children. You don't get in there. They were saying yesterday that we immediately took care of it once we killed the guy, we immediately started our rescue operation. Well, it's not immediate. It was an hour late. McGraw said U.S. Border Patrol agents, hey, how the hell close is this to the border, by the way? Right? San Antonio, I know it's South Texas, but that's some distance. McGraw said U.S. Border Patrol agents eventually used a master key to open the locked door of the classroom where they confronted and killed Ramos, who killed 19 students and 2 teachers. Waiting for the key? Now, I know it's, we've seen it in the movies. You shoot the door open. We've all been in school. These classroom doors they're not solid. They have windows. They have windows on purpose for a reason. They also have, the door has windows, and the actual classroom itself has windows. They got all these officers waiting outside in the hallway for 45 minutes till somebody arrives with the right key. This is broader, by the way, than this one department. I'll get to that in a second. McGraw said there was a barrage of gunfire shortly after Ramos entered the classroom where they killed Ramos, but that shots were sporadic for much of the 48 minutes while officers waited outside the hallway. He said investigators do not know if or how many children died during those 48 minutes. Throughout the attack, teachers and children repeatedly called 911 asking for help. Yeah, these kids have cell phones in school. A girl pleaded with 911, please send the police now. Questions have mounted over the amount of time it took officers to enter the school to confront the gunman. It was 11:28 in the morning Tuesday when Ramos's Ford pickup slammed into a ditch behind the low-slung Texas school, and the driver jumped out carrying an AR-15 style rifle. 12 minutes after that, authorities said the 18-year-old Ramos entered the halls of Robb Elementary and found his way to a 4th-grade classroom where he killed 19 students and 2 teachers in a still unexplained spasm of violence. Okay, that's at what time now? 11:40. 11:40 he enters the school. But it wasn't until 12:58 p.m. that law enforcement radio chatter said Ramos had been killed and the siege was over. What happened in those 90 minutes, I guess, from the car crash to the actual killing of this guy in a working-class neighborhood near the edge of town, has fueled mounting public anger and scrutiny over law enforcement's response to Tuesday's rampage. They say they rushed in, said Javier Cesares, whose fourth grader daughter Jacqueline was killed in the attack, and who raced to the school as the massacre unfolded. We did not see that, he said. Friday's update on the attack's timeline came only after authorities declined to explain why officers had not been able to stop the shooter sooner, with Victor Escalon, regional director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, telling reporters Thursday that he had taken all those questions into consideration but was not ready to answer them. Yeah, that was that disastrous, weird press conference we highlighted yesterday, and I did last night. Hey, do me a favor, Kevin. As soon as you got this sound from McGraw from this afternoon, let me know, okay? The Thursday briefing called by Texas safety officials to clarify the timeline of the attack provided bits of previously unknown information, but by the time it ended, it had added to the troubling questions surrounding the attack, including about the time it took police to reach the scene and confront the gunman, and the apparent failure to lock a school door he entered. After 2 days of providing often conflicting information, investigators said that a school district police officer was not inside the school when Ramos arrived, and contrary to their previous reports, the officer had not confronted Ramos outside the building. Instead, they sketched out a timeline notable for unexplained delays by law enforcement. How could this have happened? Now, one thing we all support law enforcement, and Black Lives Matter summer and beyond. You know what was the first thing they talked about? We got to get the cops out of the schools. Oh, we can't have cops there. Remember how demonized they were in the horrendous overreaction to George Floyd's death? Defund the cops, cancel the cop. The mayor of this city embraced defund the cops. Defund the cops. Systemically racist. Police were invented to catch slaves, runaway slaves. I heard that fantasy too. So for the past couple of years, cops have been fighting to survive and still command authority on the streets. So I think part of that may have led to this moment. They're not focusing on excellence. They're focusing on survival, on not getting arrested, believe it or not. Still, I could have told you, and I'm not a cop. Look, I was in the military for a bit, but I'm not I know some things from my dad, some insight, but I've never walked a beat. I've never done any of this stuff. I do know what it's like to have enemy fire come in, and man, oh man, it can be very. I hope it doesn't happen to you. But there's some things they needed to do that they didn't. Now, after Columbine, everything was supposed to change. Everything was supposed to change. Columbine, what did they do? They waited for the SWAT team to arrive, and that's what they did here. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold start firing up Columbine High School. Cops arrive. They hear shooting, and then they say, well, we got to bring in the heavy weapons. We got to bring in the SWAT team. And they sit around, dicking around for an hour until the SWAT team arrives. You don't do that. You go charging in. That was the big takeaway. It's not me saying that. This is law enforcement. Listen to this. Cut 30, please. Cut 30. These are various law enforcement executives talking about the lessons learned from Columbine. You'll also hear some news media reports interspersed in there. Cut 30.
Tactics have changed because of Columbine. In that era, police waited for a SWAT team, and in those minutes, the shooters kept killing.
It changed everything. Prior to Columbine, nobody understood what the term active shooter meant.
Like I said, it was the wrong plan. We were not forward-thinking enough to say, wait a minute, by the time SWAT gets there, it's way too late. And it took Columbine for us to change our mind.
Well, the lessons of Columbine have been forgotten. How could you forget? How could you forget? Well, it was 23 years ago, but we got school shootings all over the place. They forgot. All right, so we got McGraw here. This is the new spokesman who's owning up to some things. Let's go. This happened just a couple of minutes ago. This is the director of public safety, I think. Go ahead.
The on-scene commander considered a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk. Obviously, based upon the information we have, there were children in that classroom that were at risk, and it was, in fact, still an active shooter situation and not a barricaded subject.
Not a barricaded subject. All right. I'd like to hear a little bit more from that because, I got questions and it's not adding up. At least they're acknowledging some mistakes. A law enforcement official said that once in the building, the agents had trouble breaching the classroom door and had to get a staff member to open the room with a key. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to talk publicly. This is from the AP. Lieutenant Christopher Olivares told reporters that investigators were trying to establish whether the classroom was, in fact, locked or barricaded in some way. So when he arrived, he saw 2 officers outside the school and about 5 others escorting students out of the building. But 15 or 20 minutes passed before the arrival of officers with shields equipped to confront the gunman. I'm sorry. If you have a gun, you are equipped to confront the gunman. All these systems and protocols and high-tech armor and the helmets and the negotiators and the what did he say? We need surgical marksmen on scene. And they called county for all this stuff, and they waited around for it. Are you kidding me? It takes a guy, a brave cop with a gun. You can take out somebody with 1 bullet in the head. I know, body armor. Forget the body armor. It's not like the movies where they shoot 50 times and miss. You realize nobody's ever been shot in a movie. You ever notice that? At least no, it's like the good guys never get shot. Thousands of bullets all over the place. Nobody can aim in the movies. It takes 1 well-aimed shot. I was thinking about this in, I hate to make the comparison to the movies, but remember in French Connection when, what's that guy's name? The older guy. Gene Hackman is going into his apartment and a sharpshooter tries to kill him from the roof. Did he run away and call the SWAT team? No, he goes in there. He takes out his .38, even though the guy on the roof has a rifle. And what does he do? He gets close to the building and he's going under windows and he goes in there to get the guy. The guy already escaped and then he's got to get into his car and that whole... But it's common sense. And I had that great caller yesterday, Marianne from Connecticut, who said, look, procedures and protocol and equipment, it's great, but don't let that stuff get in the way of your instincts. Get in the way of what you're supposed to do. I have this image. I wish I can place it of 2 cops. They were not wearing helmets. This was in the late 70s, running into a situation. They weren't emergency service unit cops. They weren't a SWAT team or anything like that. They just responded because time was of the essence and they had to. So... looks like a huge disaster. Oh, by the way, we have one of the most moronic people around. I know you know this. I know it. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? She says that LGBTQ people don't do these kinds of things. LGBTQ people. It's all white men. It's all white men. And she's not the only one saying this crap. Cut 33.
Most of these shooters are young white men.
That's the root of a lot of this. It's white privilege, it's white nationalism, it's anger, it's rage, it's incels, it's all these different kinds of things, which is one of the reasons why background checks and other things aren't really working, because many of these angry white men, these modern day M&Ms, are basically ticking time bombs.
This is about a trained, cohesive ideology of hatred and violence, whether it is explicit white supremacy.
But remember, because who's the highest in the totem pole here in America these days with our left-leaning woke culture? LGBTQ. And they would never do anything like this. Look, people are people. Some of them are going to be terrible. I don't care what color. But this is wrong, AOC. And why is it important to stop this woman? Well, because she has a damn good chance to be the next president of the United States. I hate to say it, but it's true. And we can't let this idiot go much further. All right? We got to keep her as irrelevant as possible and defeat her. Cut 33, please. No. You played that one? No, you didn't play that one. Oh, yeah, you're right. Cut 34, please.
We have the radicalization of young men. This is an issue. Young women are not doing this. Young non-binary people are not doing this. Trans people are not doing this. This is an issue that we have.
Wrong. You see my Newsmax show last night? I went into like 50 examples of non-binary, lesbian, gay, you name it, trans, especially trans. One of the most famous hostage situations in American history was done for the benefit of a trans spouse of the bank robber who happened to be gay, who wanted to get money for the sex change operation. You've actually heard of this. Real quick, 36.
Go back there, man! Get over there, will ya? He wants to kill me so bad he can taste it. I'm always gonna kill anybody. Attica! Will ya? Attica!
Remember this? Dog Day Afternoon. Dog Day Afternoon. People, there are good people, there are bad people. Gender, orientation, race, all that stuff has nothing to do with it, AOC. Nothing to do with it, Trevor Noah and the rest. You fake news fools. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.